Follow along in Figma and you will learn the best way to build this interactive gallery. If you're not sure how to approach this, or you're still doing it the long way by creating different pages for each filter, then it's time for you to learn how Figma variables can help you do this faster and cleaner. My name is Sergei, and if you want to follow along with me, download the starter file from the link in the description below. And now let's get started. Right, so the first thing that we need to do, we need to create a button. So I select a text tool and press T, and I just drop here some text. For example, I'll call this button a button. And now I want to change a font size. So I select my text layer and I change it to 24. Please note that I'm using a Satoshi font. Now I need to add an out layout to this text layer. So I select text layer and I press Shift A. Now we see that this text layer is inside of the out layout. And now we can create a button. Now I want to add some paddings inside, and I'll add 40 on left and right, and I'll add 24 on top and bottom. So this is going to be my button. And we can add actually a fill to it to make it white, and the color of the text will be black. Well, I don't like to have it black all the way, so I'll use something like this. Let's go to hex code. Well, okay, 17 is a good number. And now let's make the round corners or corner radius. So I'll change it to 1000 to make them round. Now let's change the name of this layer, of this frame, to button. And I put slash. And now I'll put the state of the button that will be used in the component. So it's going to be default. And now I need to copy this button. So I hold Option key and I drag this frame to the bottom to make a copy. And now I change the fill of button to black. Actually, we can use the same number that we use 17 for the text layer. And now I change the text layer to white color like this. Also, I like to use vertical trim for the buttons. So let's check it. We see that it is used already here, the vertical trim. And that gives me a perfect sizing for the paddings, top and bottom. So we don't have this empty spaces inside of the layer with the text. Now we need to change the name of the second button, the state. And it's going to be active. Right? Or active or hover, it doesn't really matter for us. We'll only use two states. Now we select both of these layers, and now we go to the right panel, and we find option which is called Create Component Set. And now we have a component, a button component, with two states. One with default state, and the other one is the hover or the active state. Now we need to create filters. So I select this button state, the first one, and holding the Option key, I'll just make a copy. Or you can also use your assets and drag button from here, from your assets. It doesn't really matter. So the first one now is going to be all. The second one will be abstract. And the third one will be nature. To make the third one, we can actually use Command D as a duplicate, and if we put them all inside of the out layout like this, Shift A. Now if I press Command D, you see it will be added inside of the out layout next to the previous item, which is really helpful. So next one is nature, and the third one, or the fourth one, will be portrait or portraits. All right, so these are the filters. Let's add some spacing between them. I want to have them 24. And actually, I want to add also here a stroke inside of the button. So we use stroke with the same color that we had. Where is it? 17. And for example, it's going to be 1 pixel. And for this one as well, let's add it too. Yep, like this. And since it's a component, we see that we have our strokes everywhere inside of the buttons, because these are instances of the main or childs of the main parent component. All right. I like to have a dark background, so I'll use it like this. Okay, so this is going to be my filters. Now let's call them filters. And we'll have several of them. So let's make, well, the first one actually is going to be in active state. And now let's make a copy. Again, we just hold Option key and we drag and make a copy. And this one will have the active state for the abstract and default for the all. And actually we can, oops, hold on. Let's make copy like this and one more copy like this. All right, so the third one is going to be default for abstract and nature will be active. And for the last one, of course, you understand that portrait will be active and the abstract is going to be default. Now we need to change the name of all of these frames a little bit. So after the filters, we need to add slash and we need to add the name of the state of these filters. Is going to be our component for the filters. So the first one will be all. The second one, of course, will be abstract. And the third one is going to be nature. And the fourth one is going to be portraits. Like this. Now we select all of them and we go to our components menu and we create component set. Now we have a filter component that will be used in our design. All right, so let's create our frame, or before that, we can actually create our image component. Let's do that first. For that, we'll need a rectangle. Hotkey R. We create a rectangle. Actually, let me open the layers panel here so you can see what I'm doing. And for the image, I want to have a square. So I'll use the size now 448. And for the height, it's going to be 448 as well. So this is our image. We can rename it as well. I like to rename all my layers so it's easier to work. And now I need to put it inside of the frame. So I make a right click and I choose frame selection. So now it's inside of the frame. You see it's over here. And here we can call it for example, a project. Here, so we have a project. And now we need to add 2 text layers. It's going to be the name of the project. It's going to be just a random name for now and a small description of the project that will be used in the gallery. So I press again T, and now I put some text here. So it's going to be my project name. And I duplicate it. And here it will be short description, something like this. Now we need to add them to our layout. So I select both of these text layers and I press Shift-A. Now they're inside of the out layout. And now I want to change the size of the title. And it's going to be 28. And for the description, it's going to be 16, like this. And for the project name, I want to make it bold, like this. All right. What I need to do next, I need to put it inside. It is inside of my frame, project frame. And by holding Option, I can see where it is positioned. So I want to position it about 40 pixels from left and about 40 pixels from the bottom. It's not an odd layout, as you can see, because we need to have it as a separate layer to make the animation on hover. So this is going to be the project, and we rename it. So the first state is going to be default, like this. And now we need to copy it. And this one is going to be hover. Yep, like this. And for the default, we need to select the layer with my information about the project. So let's call it project description here. Yeah, something like this, or project info, it doesn't really matter. And now what I need to do, I need to like move it outside of my frame. But before that, please look here when you select this project frame. On the right, where you have out layout, you see the clip content. So please select the clip content checkbox here. And now when you move your project information, this out layout with the text layers outside of the frame, you're not going to see it. But if we remove this checkbox, we're going to see it. We'll see it in our design. So I don't want to see it. So that's why I select the clip content checkbox here. So it is inside of the frame, but we're not seeing it. We don't see anything that is outside of the frame actually. So, and for the hover, what I want to do, I want to select this part, the image one, and I want to move it like this on top. And let's say it's going to be about 320, like this. And let's add a white background. So we use fill here, and we'll use fill here as well. Now we select them, and we create a component set. Now it's like this. All right. So we're ready with our components. And now let's make a design of our gallery page. For that, we need to select our frame tool, and let's use MacBook Pro 14 inches. Here it goes. First, what I want to do, I want to add H1 title. That's basically the title of the page. So I select my type tool or font tool, and I put name, for example, it's going to be our works, like this. And I want to change the size of it to 800, like this. It looks kind of nice. And I want to remove bold. Let's make it regular. All right. But before that, I want also to make a header. So I want to have this button as well here. It's going to be our call to action button, as I promised in the beginning. And I want to select the text layer inside of the button and use Option to copy it and move it over here. And this one is going to be, for example, about. And now I want to copy it, and it's going to be works. And this last one, for example, is going to be contact. And the call to action button is, for example, request project or order project, something like that. And the only thing I want to make it a little bit smaller, so I'll use 24 by 16 paddings inside of the button, something like this, right? And maybe let's make the text layers a little bit smaller. So now we have 14, let's make them 16. So this is okay for now. Now I want to select all of these links. It's going to be our navigation bar links, and make it auto layout there as well. And now we need to add the spacing. It's going to be 40. And the only thing that I also need a sort of like a logo. So let's call it John Smith. And let's make it bold, and let's make it 24. Something like this. And now we select all of these 3 layers and make an out layout again and make it horizontal. Yep, like this. And now we need to make it hook and make them in the center like this. All right. So this is going to be our navigation bar, and this is our title of the page. And now we drag here our filters. I don't know why it has fill inside. I don't know, for some reason we added. Yep. Let's remove it right here. Yeah, like this. And we also need a small title, which is going to be, for example, like categories or something like this. We select this text layer with the filters. Again, auto layout, Shift A. Let's make it center, and we'll have it over here. It's going to be auto. Yep. All right. And now we need to add our images, and we again option drag, copy this image and drag it over here. And I want to make several of them. So I make copy like this and It's going to be about 8 pixels in between. Yep, like this. And this one should be 80 on left and right. No, yep. Let's move it a little bit to the left. So it's 4 pixels between them. And now it's 80. All right. Now we need to make this into our layout. So I select my top layer and I press Shift A. And now this is our layout, and it should be vertical. And you see that my project's messed up a little bit. So I need to select them. And I need to make them into our layout. So I press Shift A and I make them horizontal. And again, I put 4 pixels inside like this. And when I select the top layer, the page, let's call it gallery or works, yep, like this, I need to make it in the center, put it in the center, and I use paddings 80 and 40 on top and bottom. That's fine for me. I select the header now. Let's call it nav bar, and I'll use not the hug. I'll use fill option for it, and I'll use auto for the spacing. So now we see the beautiful header there, with even spacing between the logo and the nav and the call to action button. And the only thing I need to do is, you see that the works is in the center. I want to move it to the left, so actually I can use the positioning of the layout of the page on the left. And for the spacing, let's use 64. I like to have them all divided by 8. I use a 8-pixel grid in all of my projects. Now I select this layer with filters, and here I want to use again fill container option for it. Okay, now it's good. Here I select this layer with my images. Let's call it gallery. And now I need to add more images here. So I'll use Command D to add them. And you see that they're all adding to the right because the positioning of the out layout is horizontal. So I'll need to use wrap for it, and I'll add a little bit more of the images. All right. And here I'll use option. I'll hold Command and drag my frame so I can make it longer. And I'll use footer that I prepared before, and I'll add it here as well. And for it, I'll use fill container, and it's going to be in the center. So it's going to be like a copyright for this page. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to add actually images to our project gallery. And for that, I have already prepared some pictures, and I need to hold Command and then click on the image. So I selected right away inside of my layers. And when I selected the image layer, I go to fill and I go to pictures, and I use my selector from my computer, and I use image 1 for the first one. Now I'll fast forward this so you don't have to wait while I'm loading all the pictures. Right, so now the images are ready, the project files are ready. And if we use the old way of doing this, probably we'll need to make a copy of the page. We'll need to remove all the images that correspond to the abstract. Then we need to make another copy, and we'll need to remove, for example, nature and portraiture to leave only abstract or only nature and remove the rest. So basically, we had to do like several pages in order to make this gallery work, and then we will need to add to actually combine them in a prototype and to make a switcher between all of these pages. So this is kind of like old way of doing this. And right now, I'll show you a better way to make this work, to make this gallery have an interaction, and that you can use filters to filter the images inside of the gallery. And we'll use variables for that. So we go to the right panel. We see here our local variables. We select this icon, and we create our first variable. We'll need to use Boolean. So basically, Boolean means that we'll have something in our design, and we can switch it on or off. So we use Boolean, and first one is going to be abstract. Let's rename it, and we'll use value true, so it's kind of like on. Then we'll need to add another Boolean, and another one is going to be nature. And now we need to add the third one, and the third one is, of course, our portraits. And everywhere it should be true. Now we close this. So our variables are set. All right, so now we need to add variables to our project. And we need to select the project first one, and we go to the right panel, and we see appearance. And here's a little trick. You see this little eye icon? We need to right-click on it, and then we need to select abstract from here. And you see that now in appearance, we see the abstract variable. Now we need to select our second project and do a nature here because it's nature. And here with this beautiful girl, we'll use portraits. And on this guy, we'll use, again, portraits. Here we have abstract. And here we'll have a portrait as well. And here we'll be having nature, here portraits. And this one is nature as well. Yeah, like this. Now let's do some animations for the projects. Let's go to our project component. Let's go to prototype, and let's drag our arrow from the first variant to the second one, and we'll use while hovering, change to hover state, and animation will be smart animate. And here, let's use about 500 milliseconds. Is in, is out, yeah, like this. We can actually test it, see how it works. We select the design, and we press Shift spacebar to load a prototype mode. And now, if I hover, yeah, you see, if I hover it, you can see that image better. Yeah, but for some reason, I don't understand why text layer is not moving. Probably we have some problems there. Let's see it. Should be moving. All right, let's fix it the way sometimes you need to just rebuild it. So I select the first variant, and then I press plus to make a new one. And then I select the image, and I'll just make it on 320, and I select the project layer with the name, and I'll move it over here, and like this. And now it should be working. Again, let's try it, test it in a separate window, separate tab. And now it should be oh no, hold on. I need to select prototype and make another interaction over here. While hovering on variant 2, because we need to rename it to hover. And 500 milliseconds now, it should be working. Let's test it. Yep, now we see it's perfect. All right, so we have this ready, and now let's add animation for the buttons. Again, we select the first one, we drag the arrow here, and we select while hovering, smart animate, and here we'll use 300, and we'll use actually is out. And now we can see that this thing works perfectly, right? So now we need to actually create the filtering aspects, the thing that we can filter. So now we need to make this interaction that we can select the abstract, and it will filter out the rest of the pictures. In order to do that, we need to go to our filter component, and we need to add some interactions here. So the first thing, we need to select our abstract button. We need to drag the arrow to our second variant where the abstract is selected or is active. Here we use the trigger on click, and we use action change to abstract. Smart animate is out. It's fine. And now we need to do one more thing. Let me just show you one here. That when I select abstract now, you see I can kind of like switch to abstract, but nothing happens, right? And we use all here, and we do the same thing for the first variant. So we move the arrow to the first variant. So when I click on the all here, it moves, changes to the first variant. So like I can now switch between them, right? But nothing happens here. And here's the trick. What we need to do. We need to open our interaction panel for this variance, and we see a little plus icon over here. When we click on it, we can add an action, and we can add an action that's called set variable. And the idea is that when we use this action, when we click and we change from one variant to another one, something else happens during this interaction. And here we'll set a variable to abstract, and we'll use value for it true. And this is going to be our first interaction. But if we see it over here, if we check it in our prototype, you see nothing happens, right? Because we select the abstract, we clicked on it, so we have this active button, but we see all other projects here, right? And now what we need to do, and we need to add another action. We press this plus icon here, and we need to select another set variable. And here we select nature, and now we choose false. And that's it. And now let's add another one, set variable. Now we select set variable, and portraits, false again, right? So we have abstract is true, nature, portraits are false. And let's do the same thing for the next one. We select the nature button, so we need to have an interaction. So it opens the second variant, changes to second variant, and now we need to add set variable, actions, abstract here will be false, and we add set variable. Here nature will be true, and for the last one, portraits, again, will be false, like this. And we need to, again, select all here, and we click over here. And by the way, when we move from the second variable, or from the second variant, or from the default state to the active all, we also need to set variables, and we need to have them all true, of course. So we need to fix that as well. So it's going to be all true. Oops, we'll need to have nature here. And now we need to set variable to portrait, and portraits will be true as well. And here is the same thing. I will speed up this process for now, so you don't have to waste your time looking at this. So see you in a second. This is it. Oh, we need to add portraits here as well. And now let's see it in action. We go to our prototype, and now when I click abstract, you see it filters and shows only abstract images. When I click on nature, we can see only nature. When I click all, see all, and now when I click on portraits, I see only portraits. On nature, nature, and portraits. And since it's in our layout, you see that footer comes up as well because it shrinks and because the gallery is in auto layout. So I'm going to press all. You can see all of the pictures here with hovering, states, and now it looks pretty nice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this tutorial. So don't forget to hit that like button below and subscribe to our channel to see other interesting videos about Figma. My name is Sergei, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.